Okay, a couple of seconds. We're live. This is Howard Owens. Publisher of the Batavian. We're on the line with Genesee County Sheriff William Sheron, and we're going to be talking about some of the ways that the coronavirus issue is affecting his department and enforcement and different law enforcement issues related to this, and we'll get right into it. So, Bill, thank you for coming on the line. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
So, first, just kind of what's the overall status of the department under present conditions?
Well, we're operating it as we normally do. We've taken precautions. We're still responding to calls. We've made some modifications on how we're responding to the calls. We're taking preventative measures for our officers, for our dispatchers, for correction officers, and for inmates. But basically, it's business as usual, with some modifications.
What are your instructions to officers regarding out in the field regarding to COVID-19 related issues they might encounter?
Pretty much the same instructions that the public's been advised of. We're providing our officers with hand sanitizers and wipes and so forth, and advising them to make sure they use the disinfectant on their hands as much as possible. Avoid close proximity to people whenever possible. Maintain good hygiene. And like I say, the social distancing is very big. We've also, the road patrol, we've advised them that if we can handle the calls via phone, we'll take them over the phone. If we do have to go to an individual's residence, we will ask them if possible, they come outside and meet with us, and again, maintain that social distancing, and to be conscious of their surroundings and the people that they're dealing with. Ask questions and go from there.
Are officers also being deputies being supplied with gloves and masks in addition to the hand sanitizer? And how are you doing on supplies? Do you have enough supplies?
Okay, I didn't catch the first part of that, but I think you're asking about gloves and masks and so forth. Yes, each officer has been supplied with the PPEs, personal protective equipment, and again, with the sanitizers and that. Our supplies are adequate at this time. Obviously, as this goes on, we're going to need more. We're working with Tim Yeager out at Emergency Management and Bill Shute and the rest of his people out there, and they have been able to supply us with what we need at this time, so we're pretty good. We're also taking precautionary measures. When individuals show up for work, we are now starting to, screen all individuals, all the officers and employees here. We go through the routine questions, and we're also starting to use the thermometers, the touchless thermometers, to take their temperatures.
If I understand you correctly, you're checking everybody's temperature when they start their duty shift.
Yes, when they arrive for duty. Same thing in the jail. If new incarcerations, we're going through the screening devices, screening questions, I should say, and we're also using the thermometer on anybody that's being incarcerated or anybody that should come into jail for any reason.
That's good to know. A question that somebody posed to me yesterday, and I didn't know how to answer it, is if you happen to get a deputy who tests positive, the current protocol is that people that they've had come in contact with go into mandatory quarantine. That could be difficult for your department. What's the contingency plan there?
Okay, you just cut off there at the end.
What is the contingency plan if a deputy or any part of road patrol or anybody else in the department tests positive?
Well, our contingency plan would be to utilize all the resources we have here. That would be including our plainclothes people and even administrative staff to backfill if we needed to. And obviously, we would coordinate things with the City of Batavia Police Department, Leroy, and the State Police. But if our first measure would be to obviously put that person off on quarantine, and then to anybody he may have been associated with, and then we would backfill from available resources here. And again, we wouldn't hesitate to. We're all trained police officers. We all came from road patrol, so if we need to, we will assume those roles.
So we've heard from Paul Pettit before, instructing people if you're symptomatic, call your provider, don't go to ER, don't call emergency, but just maybe describe the instructions to dispatchers, kind of how to triage calls and what they need to do regarding, screening the calls and making sure the responses are appropriate.
Well, the dispatchers have guidelines that they're also following with callers. They're asking the basic questions. Do you have any symptoms? They're going down through the questions, and then when we dispatch, if there is an individual that has any of those symptoms, we are advising the first responders either via phone or over the air that there is precautions that need to be taken at that particular residence, whether it be fire, EMS, or police services.
One of the things I picked up on the other day, the Niagara County Sheriff, they are no longer processing evictions. I'm wondering what your policy is on that during this.
Same here. All the evictions have been put on or been suspended for this time, put on hold. I believe that's pretty much across the state now.
Okay. So, with all this going on, kind of what's your biggest concerns in this environment?
Well, obviously, my biggest concern is the well-being of the citizens of this county. As far as the spread of this virus, I'm concerned about panic. I'm concerned about individuals that are going to be financially strapped. Well, like I said in several conversations I've had, Genesee County is strong. We have great leadership out at EMS and with Paul Pettit and all the town and county. I'm sure we can get through this. So I think my biggest fear is that people are starting to panic, and I would just advise them that to take a step back. There's going to be plenty of groceries and so forth, and we will get through this.
I asked Sean about this yesterday. Are there any instructions to officers regarding, if they see people or businesses not engaging in the restrictions as far as group gatherings and social distancing? I know in some other jurisdictions, not necessarily in this country, officers have gotten involved. And kind of what are the instructions to deputies in that regard?
At this point, we've just pointed out to them to discuss it with the individuals or the establishment that they, if they are in violation, to point out the violation to them and ask for compliance.
I know early on you announced you halted visitation to the jail. You are the primary person responsible for the jail. Just talk about what's going on to protect both inmates and corrections officers.
You're correct. I believe it was last week, we actually suspended the visitation for all inmates, which they've accepted very well by all means. And we've also cut back on any traffic in the jail as far as services go. The officers, again, are being screened before they go in. At the beginning of their shifts, they're being asked a series of questions. Their temperature's being taken. And what we've done for the inmates is that we are working with our phone carrier to provide them with some free calls during the week so that they can stay in touch with their loved ones. It's going to be hard on them, too. Obviously, they're used to having some communication with the outside and with their loved ones, so we're going to try to accommodate that. Right now, our population's running in the 40s, so it's probably one of the best environments you can be in right now as far as not being exposed to the virus.
Well, that's interesting. It sounds like your population's down quite a bit from where it's historically been.
Yes, it is.
One of the things, I think there were some suggestions from the Department of Corrections that I didn't completely understand if they were directing this to jails or just their own facilities, but there's been some talk, and I'm wondering if you're hearing this or you think that something might happen, that inmates, say, over 50 in some circumstances should be released. Administrative holds, people on probation or parole violations should be released. Any talk of that? Do you think that's something that might happen?
I have not heard anything that for local facilities. I know that the courts have put pretty much everything on hold. We are issuing appearance tickets more than ever, so I don't see the jail population going much higher than it is right now, but I have not heard anything from the state as far as releasing of inmates that are 50 years old or more.
Well, I appreciate your time, Sheriff. Is there anything else you think the public should know about either the law enforcement response or anything else related to this, and anything that the public can do to help your officers?
Well, one of the things they can do again is let's try to do as much as we can electronically or over the telephone. Um, I think they need to abide by the rules or abide by the suggestions that are out there that we only travel when we have to travel, or we need only go out when we need to go out. I think if we all work together on this, it's going to take a while, but we'll get through this together. And like I say, you have strong leadership in the EMS and the health department and throughout the county. So, if we will work together and follow what people are asking us to do, I think we'll be fine.
That's good to hear, Sheriff. I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. We worked to get this set up, and I appreciate you taking time out to talk to us. I think it's important for our community to hear from leaders such as you and be better informed about what's going on. This is Howard Owens with the Batavian. Again, Sheriff, I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll get to see each other in person again soon.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.